Hello, everybody, and welcome to Chatting with Campbell. We've got a distinguished guest for me tonight, and just beside me, is it there on the right-hand side? But I just want to welcome Lee Judges and Dan Potts, who are obviously resident. How you doing, guys?
All good, thanks, Kev. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
And the man up beside me and above Lee Judges is Isaiah Rankin. Many will know him from his time at Arsenal, coming through the ranks. And obviously, he's also played for Brentford among some of his other teams. So, Izzy, how are you, young man?
I'm good, Kev. Thanks, guys, for having me on.
Oh, our pleasure. What a great name, by the way. What a great name.
Isaiah Rankin, yeah. Always a nice one.
Quality
Always
name,
a nice one. Always a nice one. But look, we're always going to start with our guest. Izzy, tell us a little bit of what you're doing now, and obviously tell us when you played for Brentford, because I think everybody would love to know that.
So what I'm doing now is I'm based in Leeds area, helping at a private academy, helping young kids who have just released from maybe clubs or want to get back into the pro clubs, helping, doing that and coaching really. And I was at Brentford from 2004 to 2006, and it was a great time for me playing under Martin Allen at Brentford.
Character, isn't he? Martin Allen was a character.
Yeah, very good character. Knew how to get a team to play and get boys together to go out there and fight and to be hard to beat, and had a lot of good times under him.
Fantastic. Let me come to you, Lee. When I mention Brentford, obviously we're going to talk about modern day, but did you have any dealings with Brentford back in the day?
Well, back in the day, my dad was there, so obviously fond memories with that. Like dad was at Orient and Brentford, so I think Brentford was probably his team as well, like out of all of them, if I'll be honest, So a connection there. But at the moment, I'm not happy with them. They done us earlier on the season 2-0, and that ain't is painful memories. But listen, it's always all through my career, my lifetime, and that they was always in the lower division. So to get up into the Premier League now is magnificent. See another London club, and red and white, a little bit of red and white there as well. So I'm quite happy with Brentford, and I think, like, if I'll be honest, I think they're doing well. I know they're in a little bit of a say dodgy patch at the moment, but
they're in a dip.
After Saturday, they do really well and do stay in the league. So nice new stadium. Is it? That's right. They used to have the ground, didn't they? Is it with the 4 pubs?
With the 4 pubs, yeah, with the 4 pubs.
Yeah, all that, So that was very, very famous for that. So. Like fond memories of Brentford. Like my dad was spoken very highly. So yeah.
How long was your dad there, Lee?
I think he was only there for a little while. I know that he was at Orient. It was a little bit different back in the day when he played. It was sort of like they shifted it. I don't know what sort of level it was then, but I can't even manage who was the manager there. If it was Alex Stockwell, that was when he was at Orient. I'm not sure, So it was in and around that era he was there,
Right. What about you, Potsy? Any connection with Brentford, or did you ever go and watch a game at Brentford before?
Listen, did I ever go and watch a game at Brentford? I was bloody there, mate, on the first bloody game of the season. I went up there, man. I was gutted. But listen, it was. Do you know what? I've got to admit, I went there and I loved the atmosphere. I thought it was fantastic. And do you know what, Kev? People forget it's the first game that we were all allowed back after COVID. Yeah. So of course everyone was buzzing, And I remember as I was there, he came out on the pitch, and I remember thinking, this is going to be a good game for him to come out, because it's going to be both teams that you're obviously looking at. But Brentford were fantastic that night, and I know that we were a bit depleted at the start, but I look at what Brentford have done, and I know they're on a bad run at the moment, but I really like what they're doing in the Premier League, and I think their manager is class, man. I've got a lot of time for him. I think he's a character. I think what he's doing and has done in the Premier League is fantastic. And I think although they're going through a bad patch, I hope they do stick with him because I feel like there's something working there. And, you know, I don't know much about them going back, you know, a few years, if I'm honest with you. But all I do know is that I've got a lot of friends that are Brentford fans, and they are in absolute love with what's happening and what has been happening in the last couple of years. So I love to see clubs like that. Do you know what I mean? I love to see clubs that get into the Premier League and make the most of it. And I must say, although they're going through bad patch at the moment, their fans still seem committed. Their players are playing for the manager still. And I hope to see, obviously not at the weekend, but I hope to see them turn it around in terms of their form in the coming weeks, because I'd like to see them stay in the Premier League. I really would.
Izzy, let me come to you, because obviously you were there on the first day of the season. What were your thoughts about the squad and what you thought they could do this season, and have they surprised you?
They have surprised me. The start surprised me so much, but you know, as a newly promoted team, you have to start well at home. And I thought playing Arsenal on the Friday night, it was kind of a setup. It was set up for Brentford to win the game.
Right.
100%.
And then once the team news came out, players were missing. Then you think, could it be? Then you're in and around the ground and getting closer to kickoff, and then there was just an atmosphere in and around the ground that I think Brentford could do something tonight. And then once the game started, it was just Arsenal didn't play well today, but Brentford stuck to their task. They had a plan and they used it very, very well. And it was disappointing for Arsenal to season like that, but now they've picked up. It's a completely different team, and now both teams are in different situations, different moments in the season. So hopefully it's a good game, and Arsenal win this one.
So you want one? You want one each? You want the home team to win? Okay. Let me come to you, Lee. That game at Brentford that Izzy and Dan talks about, was that one of the most disappointing ones of the season for us? We went into it with so much. We went in with so much confidence, in a sense, but the performance. Look, listen. I said you could lose any game.
Yeah,
but it's the way you lose it. And let's be honest, we kind of got bullied, didn't we?
Yeah, that was the worry. I don't think it's been the most disappointing loss for me this season. I think I'm going to say the two biggest ones that have hurt me the most is Everton and Nottingham Forest. I'm going to be honest, they're the two that have really got me. But the game against Brentford, I think, how can I say it? It's up there because it told me who's going to in for a roller coaster of a ride. It weren't going to be like plain sailing. Straight after that, we knew we had Chelsea and Manchester City coming like that. So we knew we was going to be, if we didn't get anything from that game, we was going to be bottom of the league. And that said it all. And it was do you know what? It was a Friday. I don't know if well, obviously we remember it. Friday night. It was Friday. So basically, after that, the weekend's ruined, gone. You know what I mean? Like, Arsenal have ruined the weekend, right? It's done and dusted. So you're sort of slightly getting over it on the Saturday. Come Sunday, you think, right, okay, come on, Spurs, make my day. City, go and smash them, right? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And Manchester City win and beat Spurs, lost to Spurs. It just was the worst weekend. And do you know when you go like, oh, I'm looking forward to coming back. We've got this for weeks and weekends and things like that. So it was a horrendous weekend that was. Started with that 2-0 win, bullied from set pieces and all that. I honestly think, I'm gonna be really honest with you. I think that was the final now in Leno's Arsenal career as number one. I think that after that, Mikel had made up his mind that he needed. Yeah, I think then he got Ramsdale away, but I think then he realised that I'll tell you what, I'm giving giving Ramsdale. I'll tell you what, I'll let Leno take a stuffing against Chelsea and Man City. Then after the international break, I'll bring in Ramsdale, and it'd be like managerial magic, like, or something like that. But so I feel a little bit sorry for Leno. He had those 3 games with like no defence in front of him, and all of a sudden, like, Gabriel's back and Ramsdale come back in, didn't he? So
Tommy
so
Arsu's in and Tierney's
they talk about being ruthless, So like, football's a ruthless game, and that was shown there. But yeah, I just think we was bullied on the day. That the second goal summed it all up. I honestly think, I don't know how you guys feel about this. If we had a foul like that given against us now with the way we are, I think we would have made a lot more fuss about it. It just seemed like he accepted it, and we just moved on from it a little bit. I don't know how you feel about that. It just because it was a foul, but because we didn't make no fuss of it, it sort of was let go. Whether they thought VAR was going to get involved, but we know what VAR.
Bail him out. Yeah. Bail him out. Dan, what's your thoughts on that one? Because I think Lee's got a real point. Leno did get fouled, but he didn't really remonstrate. I mean, you ask Izzy, if you're going to go in there with a goalkeeper, the goalkeeper's going to give you some. You're the one who's probably going to end up on the floor, but he goes up and it was quite soft, Dan. What do you think?
It was, mate. And the whole night was a disaster, if I'm honest with you. I mean, if that was a few weeks ago, I reckon the game would have got called off anyway, because it seemed that it was like one rule a few weeks ago.
It was the first COVID, wasn't it? It was the first part, yeah.
The first game of the season, we could hardly put a team out, but it was fine. But then a few weeks ago, everyone's getting games called off for having their under 18 out. Do you know what I mean? It's a shambles, mate. So when I look at it now, I think actually, yeah, that was a problem. Without having Lacazette and without having Aubameyang, I remember leaving the ground with Gunnar Russ, who's in the chat, and I remember I was with Red Ken and Gunnar Russ, and we both left, and I just remember feeling so disappointed, not because of the loss, but because of how we lost. We got bullied. It was like rolling back the years. It was like Stoke again on an awful night, weren't it? We got bullied in that game, and that was what was really frustrating me, because we were seeing the likes of Ben White out there, who had an absolute shocker of a debut for me. And we were thinking, like you say, Leno, the foul didn't go our way, and like you say, Kev, no one was really moaning. Leno got fouled. It wasn't really. It was just like, oh well, we've lost the game, and we move on. We had Balogun and Martinelli up front, who hadn't played for God knows how long. And I just think now, obviously, we want revenge. But I remember that game leaving, thinking we need to do a lot in the summer window here, because we were really struggling. We were depleted, and since then, obviously, Lee talks about Chelsea and Man City. Then we went on that little bit of a run when we got our players in. And we're lucky now, because there's no more excuses to this. We've got our best side available, bar Martinelli. So we can't have any more performances like that. They can't get bullied against this team now. And Brentford are on a real bad run. So we got to take advantage, Casey.
Mm-hmm. Izzy, let me ask you about the Brentford model, because they kind of missed out a couple of years on getting promotion. Had to sell Ollie Watkins, etc. And then they brought in Ivan Toney, and it seems like that just connected. Tell me about, your thoughts on them eventually getting to the promised land, their model, because they don't go and splash crazy money, do they?
No, the Brentford model really good. So even before that, the players that you're talking about, Neil Mope, they've had loads of players. I think I saw a stat the other day, spent, and then how much they've received in transfer fees. And the model is working. They find young players, Scandinavian players, or players from non-league, Pinnock, Rico Henry, and they're fantastic players. I think, apart from Ivan Toney, Pinnock and Henry are the next two to most probably go from Brentford.
Do you know who's impressed me? I've got to mention his name. Bueno at the top end of the pitch. I think he's a handful. Yeah, I'm not sure. I've not seen him, so maybe he's carrying an injury at the moment. I'm not too sure. But early on in the season, he really impressed me, Izzy.
So when Ivan Toney plays in between the opposition's right back and right centre half, and Bueno does I work off of Tony, little link-ups, little SIDs and little others, and he's always very close. He works his socks off, and he doesn't get the goals that he deserves, but he's so important to the team.
I agree with you there, Lee. What's your thoughts on their front two? Because they give us a run around in that first game.
Yeah, a handful. I think that's the way of putting it. I think they are a handful. I think that, and to be honest, even on their bad run, they've caused problems. They've caused problems. You know, even when they've not won their games, it's never. I don't know how Ben White and Gabriel are going to feel going into the game, but I tell you what, they're not going to have it easy. Well, I don't care what anybody says. I think that it's going to be a battle for them, which they've got. But do you know what? Physically, I think that they're up for that sort of battle. But and they ain't going to be like given time on the ball. They're not going to be given like they can't take liberties. Put it that way. They won't be able to take liberties with these two. And they've got a certain way of playing. And I think with Ivan Toney, if I've been really honest, the only thing that he really does lack is like a real goal, like, 20 goals. If he was something like it'd be the real deal. He's got everything else. I mean, he's got pace, power, brave. But it's just that probably that goal scoring thing that maybe is why people probably maybe not looking at him, but scored bundles of goals in the championship. And I thought, well, I do a lot. I like a centre forward. I'm going to say it now, guys. I like a centre forward that bullies a centre half. I love it, and I haven't seen it for a very, very long time down there, Arsenal, if I'll be honest. But I do like it, and I think it's something that we need to get. We need to get somebody like him, I think, in our squad. I'm not saying he would be a starter every week, but someone in our squad to look to go for a plan B. And I believe he is an Arsenal fan, so it might well be something like we can look at somebody like that. But I'm all for seeing somebody like that in the Arsenal squad, I'll be honest.
Dan, what's your thoughts on, obviously, Ivan Toney and Mbueno and that Brentford model? Because it has been really successful.
Well, it's admirable, mate. And I think, as he's talked about, some of the players that have left, obviously Mope, but Ollie Watkins is another one at Villa now. He's been fantastic, absolutely superb, a player that I really like. Obviously you've got Ben Rama, you've got the how good he was and then what he's doing at West Ham. He's a player who comes on and does a good job now, and he's starting to kind of prove himself in that side now as well. So I think the model is very good to look at. And you've got to be realistic about what Brentford are doing as well. They're not a team that are going to keep all their best players and go up the table and start hitting Europe. They've got to be realistic. They'd love to stay in the Premier League and do what they're doing. I think you've got to say hats off to them. But I'm with Lee. I like what they're doing up top. I think they're a handful. And when you say that, a lot of people think, oh, he's a handful. That to me is a compliment. Some people just think, oh, well, you got to score goals as a striker. Well, they do score goals. Ivan Toney scores goals as well. We haven't seen him of late as much as probably the Brentford fans would like, but he's an absolute monster up top. And I think he's a player that I'm looking very, very closely at, because I think that Gabriel and Ben White, they've got to have a good game. That's all I know. That's all I know. They've got to have a good game. And Ben White in the air last time against Brentford wasn't too great. Of late, he's been a lot better. And I'd like to see him improve still, Ben White. The jury is still a little bit out for me. A lot of people think I'm harsh when I say that, but I've seen some bad performances. I've seen some exceptional performances. As for Gabriel, I think he's been consistently good. So that's why I say I want to see more from Ben White, because I want to see from Ben White what Gabriel's doing. So this is an opportunity for Ben White to kind of put it right from the last game against Brentford, because he will be thinking about that. But I've got the confidence of our last few games that Gabriel and Ben White can keep Brentford quiet, because we've seen them do it against a number of teams. So let's hope that we can have a good performance like that defensively, because they're going to be a handful, as I say, the front two.
Yeah, Izzy, well said, Dan. Do you think their manager, is under any pressure? Because obviously they've gone off the boil a little bit. They have spent a little bit of money, haven't they, in the summer? Brought Ayer in and stuff like that. Still got some quality players. I like Canos and all their guys. I think they're good players. But obviously just not getting the results. Is he under a little bit of pressure, would you say?
No. Where Brentford have come from, this is a journey. This is a fantastic journey they're on. So, and they've done exceptionally well so far, but they've still got, 10, 15 games to go to secure safety. I don't think the manager's under any pressure. He's done fantastically well with the budget they're on, with the players. Tactically, he's worked miracles with his team. He's changed things about. Sergi Canos has played up front. He's played at right wing back. So they've had injuries. The keeper's back now, where the fans were a bit questioning Fernandez. I think it was the other keeper, but now Raya's back. And no, I don't think he's under pressure. I just think it's their way. I don't think Brentford will panic either.
I just look at, obviously Brentford have got some tough games coming up, and well, they're all tough in the Premier League. You know, there's games. This is one that we're expected to win, just like the first game of the season. It turned out to be a disaster. It can go that way. So I only ask that just because of the position they're in. Obviously, Newcastle are winning now. Everton are winning. You know, that type of thing. They can get dragged down. And when you're down the bottom there, it can be difficult. Lee, what's your thoughts on the Arsenal's approach to this game? Because I think that's the key to everything for us, how Arsenal approach it.
Yeah, and this is what I think Brentford will come there to frustrate. I think that they're putting banks of four and frustrate us, and we've got to be patient. And if I'll be honest, it ain't. This is our weakest part of our game, breaking down teams. I really do. I think that the one thing we have improved on is that when we're pushing on against sides, i.e. against Burnley, we didn't really look like we're going to concede. In the past, I've always been, look how vulnerable we are on the counter-attack and all that. We seem to have sorted that out a little bit, but I still think we're a little bit too overcautious when we're going forward, particularly at home, and can't break down teams. Now, we've got the fans. That includes me and Dan. We've got to be a little bit more patient, you know what I mean? Because I don't think it's going to be a walkover sort of game. I think that we're going to have to stick with it. I don't think it's going to be pretty. I'll be honest. I don't think it's going to be I'll be very surprised if it's an open and a 3 or 4 nil.
Free-flowing game.
I don't think we're going to get there. I think they're going to come there, frustrate, look to pick us off, and we've got to be aware of that. And it comes down to it. I think that first 20 minutes will tell us a lot. If we get a chance in that first 20 minutes, we have got to take it. And that will take a little bit of pressure off. Because I don't care what anybody says. This is a must-win game for Arsenal. Arsenal, if they're going to get top 4, we've got 3 home games against Brentford. Then we've got Wolves on Thursday, which is another tough game, which are going to be like the same sort of scenario. Then we go to Watford away and then Leicester at home. If Arsenal are going to get top 4, I don't care what anybody says, they have to bring in 12 points from those games. 12 points. No, nothing more, nothing less. There's got to be 12 points on the board, and it's going to be difficult. But what you have to do is defend well, and when you get the chances, take them. And I think it'll be an interesting game. I'll tell you, someone just said in the comments there about Eriksen. I think he's going to be the first Spurs player to come to the Emirates and not be booed. I reckon, because of what's happened. I reckon
a bit of respect for him, yeah.
I do, and I hope that there is. You know what I mean? I think that if he does come on, I think that he'll get a good reception because, you know, for whatever reasons, that we all know the reasons and all that, for him to come back and still be able to play professional football, hats off to him. Don't care what football club he's played for in the past. You know, I mean, that was a shocking scene when watching that in the Euros. Yeah. So for me, if he does come on, I think it's for football more than who he played for.
Dan, what's your thoughts on that? Obviously, Arsenal's attitude towards this game, because this is a potential banana skin. Because you know what, Brentford have nothing to lose.
Yeah, and Brentford are going to want to get as many points as they can on the board. They don't care how they play; they're just going to try and get it. And I think I echo what Lee said there in relation to Ericsson. Apart from Fabrice Mwamba, or probably as well as Fabrice Mwamba, that was one of the worst things I've seen live on a football pitch. It was horrendous to watch. For him to come back this early, I really didn't expect to see it. So I hope he does get a good reception. I certainly will be giving him one at the weekend because I think he deserves it. Any footballer does, no matter what your past kind of history is. So I hope he gets that. As for the game and Arsenal's mentality, listen, KC, we've got winnable games. We keep talking about this. We've got winnable games. The one that I thought was difficult was the one the other night. We took 3 points. So for us to now go and balls it up at home would be very Arsenal for me, right? So let's make sure we don't do that. I want to see a real strong performance. And I do believe that the one thing that we have got of the last few games is a little bit of, although it's ill discipline on the pitch, we seem to have a little bit of discipline defending. So let's hope that continues because we do need to be a defensive-minded side at the same time as trying to be balanced for scoring some goals, which would be nice, which we've struggled with of late. But actually, when you look at the performance and the mentality, not just of this game, but to try and go on a run, you've got to keep this going now with the games that on paper your favourites to win. I don't mind having a slip up against someone that you come up against and you just miss out on it by a big performance. But we shouldn't be doing that against Brentford. No disrespect. I love them. I love what they're doing. And I've said already enough about what I think they've done right. We should not be losing this game or slipping up, in my opinion. I'm with Lee. I think we do have to take, the next 5 games, I want to see as close to maximum points as possible because I think that is what we need to be aiming for if we're serious about top 4, which is what I think we should be because I'm looking at the other teams around us and I'm seeing lack of consistency and them slipping up. I don't want to join that club and be as inconsistent as the likes of Spurs and United at the moment. We need to go on a run and prove why we are apparently favourites for top 4. So that's what I want to see, mate.
Nice one. Izzy, as a obviously ex-Brentford, but you're an Arsenal man as well. What's your thoughts on Arsenal right now? Because obviously at the start of the season we're all over the place, but now what's your thoughts on Mikel Arteta and the way things are going now?
I think they've recovered up because at the start it was looking really bad. Well, defensively they look strong, but still not enough goal threat for me. For me, where we're not ruthless enough when the chances come about. That's the whole team, not just down to the strikers, not just down to the wide players. Can we score more from set pieces? Can a midfielder get 10 goals? That's the only thing missing now. To be ruthless, to play nice patterns. Defensively, the fullbacks join in well. But then, if we only score 1, the other sides are always in the game. All it takes is one chance, one mistake. So now, in the business end of the season, when there's chances to be taken, we've got to be taking them and be ruthless.
100%. And do you think we're relying too much on Martinelli? Obviously, he's not going to be playing in the game. But do you reckon we're relying too much on the youngsters like a Saka and Smith Rowe, etc.? Do you think Lacazette probably should be doing more in the goal scoring column?
Yes. Yeah. You need young players are doing fantastic. Everyone loves them. But then now he's got the armband. Now we're going to have to start looking at him and saying, yes, we love what you bring defensively and your link-up play, but now can you go and start the season? Can you go and get us 10 goals? Please. Penalties, whatever. Be ruthless. Put the ball in the back of the net. And then everyone can look at him and say, well, it's his job. And then now can the Odegaard start chipping in? Saka, Smith Rowe, Martinelli, Pepe.
That's the Rubik cube, isn't it? That's Pepe, a tough one.
So for me, the back end of last season, he was the one scoring the goals. He was the one unlocking defenses. Mm-hmm. For some reason, one reason or another, he's not had the time. He's been away at African nations. He's come back now. So we're going to need to use it at some point. We're going to need to use it. And I hope he has the fire in his belly to come on and create shots off and on that wonderful left foot of his.
Yeah, I think let me ask Lee and Izzy. I'm going to come back to you on Pepe, but I got a question for Lee and Dan. Arsenal right now, we know what we are, and we know where we're weak. If Lacazette could come up with 10 goals this season, would you say that would make sure we're top?
Me,
Lee.
yeah, I think
Lee.
I was right. Like 10 goals, someone's got to come up with some goals. It ain't going to be Xhaka and Partey. Partey's broke more roof slates and goals, isn't he? Like, you know, let's be honest. You know what I mean? Like, I'll tell you what. When he gets to shoot, I duck and I'm miles up in the air. Like, I mean, I'm out of the way. Like, you know what I mean? It's awful. You know, Xhaka, you know, has got more yellow cards and sending off than he's got goals in his Arsenal career. That's a fact. You know what I mean? So we're relying on Odegaard, I think, you know, and too much on the youngsters. So someone's got to step up. And when he's your captain, and I think he's a good captain, if I'll be honest. I think he leads by example all the way. I love his work rate and everything. And that's why I think the fans do like him.
Stick with him. That's why they stick with him.
They've stuck with him because you know what? We love a trier. We love someone that's going to put in 100% and work hard. And that he does that every single game. I don't care. Even when he was coming on as a sub, he does it. His goal scoring record against top sides, by the way, isn't bad. You know what I mean? If you have a look at his record, he's scored against all the big boys. So he's just never quite been that consistent. But if he could get 10 goals, which is a big ask for you know any striker in the Premier League come now, but if you could get 10 goals, it would push us so much closer to that because, you know, as I said, when you're 1-0 up with 10 minutes to go, like, you know, even the game against Wolves, 1-0 up, he goes clean through. If he bangs that away, you know, we ain't biting our nails for the next 10, 15 minutes. You know, the game's done. We need to kill games off a little bit better than what we do, you know, and because somewhere along the line it's going to bite us. So we've got to be more ruthless and take our chances. I think if he gets 10 goals, I don't say to guarantee us that, but we'd be in a very, very good, healthy position. You know what I mean? If he was actually to score 5 goals in the next 5 games, which you could possibly do, you know, I mean, get on a run. You know what it's like as strikers, guys. You start scoring goals, you get on a run. If you could get 1, you can get 2 penalties as well. You know what I mean? I'll tell you what,
We'll take that. Yeah.
He's good from the spot. I'll take that. No, so I think at the end of the day, if he could get 10 goals, we could actually get it. Yeah, I do think that.
Dan, Potsy, what's your thoughts? Lacazette getting 10 goals, would that virtually see? I know it's not set in stone, but would that virtually see us top 4?
Yeah, I'd like Lacazette to get 5, mate. He's struggling, isn't he? But yeah, I think with Lacazette, I think what we're seeing is a player who is more of a link-up man and more of a false 9 of late, you know, or dropping into that 10 role. And I think that's what's preventing him getting in the box because of his hold-up play and his link-up play. And that's why when Kieran Tierney, who, by the way, everyone's saying is having a poor season, is struggling because he's getting down the wing and there's nobody there to cross it into. So that system at times works for some of the youngsters around him, but there's times where it doesn't work, and I'd like to see it improved. I think if Lacazette was to get 10 goals, you'd have a great chance at top 4. Yeah, 100%. It doesn't have to be Lacazette, by the way. It could be any of them. I think that 10 goals from somebody might need to happen. But if that isn't going to happen, KC, we need to look at it a combination like Man City have. It doesn't matter whether it's Mahrez or Sterling or Foden or De Bruyne. They're all chipping in with goals.
By committee.
100%. By committee. That's the word. I couldn't think what the term was.
Yeah, by committee,
That's what we want to see now is Martinelli, Odegaard, Smith Rowe, Saka joining that and getting the 5 goals that they can get from now until the end of the season. Because let's have it right. If they all chip in with 4 or 5 now until the end of the season, we're going to see us win games because goals win games, mate. And we're quite good defensively this season. But up top is where our issue is. And I'm struggling with some of the kind of decisions I'm seeing from the manager in terms, and I know you're going to come on to it, of bringing on Eddie instead of Pepe. I can't keep seeing Eddie coming on now. I've got to see something else from Pepe coming on, or something that's different, because Eddie's been given enough chances and he's not scoring. So you've got to try another option. And if that doesn't work, you try another option. You don't just stick with the same thing. I want to see Martinelli or Pepe coming more into that central position if Laka's coming off, not Eddie coming on just running around. So it's going to be interesting to see how we get on till the end of the season. But 10 goals for Laka, I think you're right, Kev, would be amazing. But I just can't see it because of the system that we play.
Right, so you set me up perfectly to come back to you, Izzy. Pepe.
So professional, aren't we? So professional.
Pepe, would you play him as a number 9? Yeah.
Playing as a number 9, I'd have to different games for different players. That's my answer, because some games you're going to need Laka, where he's going to drop deep. Some games you might need Martinelli through the middle, where he's lively, he can stretch teams and can go in behind. Some games you're going to need Pepe, or even how Man City play. I would even throw Smith Rowe into the middle, and then you've got Martinelli, then you've got Saka or Pepe. You've got to Liverpool do it. Jota's down the middle now. Sometimes Salah's down the middle. You've got to keep teams guessing and moving about. Sometimes one of them's on the wing, the other one's down the middle. At the moment, it's a bit predictable. Laka comes to feet, Laka drops deep. And then we're looking for the wide players to bend their runs from out to inside and try and get in that way, or the fullbacks try and get round. But how many times do we go, midfielder gets the ball, Odegaard gets the ball, forwards on the shoulder of the centre half, and slides the ball through? How many times have we seen us go through one-on-one where a midfielder just slides the forward in?
That don't happen, Izzy.
That's a great point, Kev. Great point.
That don't happen. But let me tell you why it don't happen. Because you're not moving anybody. So if you're playing Arsenal, if I'm playing Arsenal and I know Martinelli's playing, all I do is I defend deeper. I take away his strength straight away of the ball in behind. So now, where's the space for Martinelli? Coming to feet. And when he comes to feet, I pay him every time. I'll pay him in that traffic. And that's what I'll do with Pepe as well. I know Pepe likes the ball to feet. And in there, you play there, Isaac, I played there. The boys are playing. As a striker, when you're going into all the traffic, I'll take away that run. Maybe that's why I maybe playing Martinelli and Laka, where Laka comes off and Martinelli could stay on the shoulder, where one centre half either comes out or he stays. Laka could get it and turn. So I think the philosophy would change in Arsenal's team. But Pepe is so talented. We've got to be. I believe he's got a part to play in this.
Yeah.
Right? He's got a part to play in this. Lee, how big a part?
Well, I'll ask the question then. I'll ask.
No, don't ask the question with a question. So you answer my question first, and then you can throw a question after.
I'll answer. He ain't going to get many. He's not going to get many opportunities. So when he gets his opportunity, he's got to take it. Because I think on Saturday, Smith Rowe comes in. That's my opinion. I think Smith Rowe comes in on the left-hand side.
Highest goal scorer.
Yeah, got to get him into the team. I think that it's there. And when Martinelli's ban is over on Saturday, Thursday, you've got to get Martinelli in the team. So if Lacazette ain't doing the business, then, I think it really depends how this game goes. Because if we find it very, very hard to break down Brentford and we struggle and everything like that, and then for me, playing Lacazette's not the answer, because we're struggling against Brentford. We struggled against Burnley. We need something different. Isaac makes a fantastic point there I think about Arsenal being too predictable because you know exactly what's going to happen with Arsenal. Lacazette's going to drop off deep, pick the ball up. He's not got the legs to go past players, and like sometimes you can come short, turn with a little quick turn and be away. He hasn't got that in his locker where he can turn away from a defence and out. So the defence know, all right, we'll let you go in there and we'll keep our shape so we don't with the two wide players. So it's predictable. So where you've got to have someone else coming through, as you say, like an Odegaard or whatever, Arteta has to find. He's had 3 weeks, 2 of them, 1 of them out in Dubai, to find a different way of breaking down the blocks. Now against Wolves, because Wolves are at home, they did come out slightly and go for it a little bit. Like they won't do that at the Emirates in a week's time. No, so you're going to have to find a different way, and so is it going with Brighton. So Brentford. So I'm really interested to see what he can do. Now I think at the end of the day, if you're going to play Pepe down, if Pepe's going to get in, where is he going to get into this team? Right, people keep saying to me like, you got to play Pepe. You got to play Pepe. Right, that's okay. We'll play Pepe. Right, who are you going to drop? You're going to drop Saka? Hell no. You know what I mean? Are you going to drop Martinelli? No. So who are you going to drop? Now, Martinelli's gone out. Right, let's bring Pepe. Oh, hold on a minute. No,
Smith Rowe's got to play. Yeah,
Smith Rowe's got to come in. So where is he going to play? To me, there's only one position you can play, and it's in that false sort of 9. So you might have to just say, try and make it work. But what I'm hearing is that Pepe's not been playing in the false 9 in training. It's been Martinelli that's doing that. So whether it's going to be Martinelli coming in, but again, if he puts Martinelli down there, I want to see Smith Rowe playing out there. So it's a very, very difficult one.
Yeah, I think the point why I asked that question is, I know because really Dan touched on it. A lot of the Gooners are fed up of Eddie coming on, for instance, and that's why I'm asking: has Pepe got has he got a big part to play? Because
I've not mentioned Eddie. There's a reason why I haven't mentioned Eddie.
Yeah, but one thing we do know: Pepe has talent. He's got exceptional talent. So maybe he's not going to start games, but the final 20 minutes when people are tired and you want him to absolutely kill teams, do you think, Dan, that he's got the right attitude? Because we know he's gifted, but I'll pick up on something I just said. He's got to want to go and do it. He's got to want to roll his sleeves up. I'll show this. I'll show you how good I am. Get on there and make a mark. But I don't know whether that's in him. What's your thoughts on that, Dan?
So my thoughts on Pepe, I think everybody knows. He's not my favourite player, and everyone thinks that I absolutely love the guy. I just don't really understand the criticism that he gets because the stats are clear to see. He leaves Saka and Smith Rowe dead in the water with his stats. Like Saka and Smith Rowe would love to have the season he had last year, 16 goals. But he gets the criticism because of the stuff that he doesn't do well. And I think sometimes people compare him to the likes of Granit Xhaka that does so much good for the team at times, but he's always an idiot and gets sent off. I think that's similar to Pepe with those kind of haters. And I can't stand Granit Xhaka and want to see him gone. I never want to see him in the team again. But when it comes to Nicolas Pepe, I can appreciate the talent and the skills there. And I do think that, like you say, I'm not sure he can do it. I think he has done it before. He's out of favour massively with this manager, though. And I personally don't think he gets into this first 11. I would rather see Smith Rowe coming in at the weekend on the left-hand side because he's been scoring goals. And Lee makes a great point about Pepe maybe taking a position of a Saka or an Odegaard or a Smith Rowe, and people don't want to see that. So what can we do to fit something else around him or around Martinelli? You can play a different system or a different formation if the Lacazette role isn't working. But what I would like to see, Casey, is not Lacazette keep coming off. I'd like to see Laka with someone up there. So keep Partey and Xhaka together and play like a 4-4-2 for the last half hour and see if you can get Laka linking up someone next to him. See if Lacazette can play next to Pepe or Martinelli. If Pepe can't do it on his own because he's got no hold-up play, let Laka hold it up and flick it through to Pepe or flick it through to Martinelli. And you can still have Saka and Smith Rowe either side. You might have to drop a Martin Odegaard out or maybe a Smith Rowe out in the number 10 position. But actually, if you keep Laka on and you play Laka and Pepe, then you might see something different there. And I remember against Palace at home, Villa at home, Leicester away. We saw that. We saw Aubameyang and Laka. It was more of a 4-4-2. And then out of possession, it went back to a Lacazette holding and dropping off back into that. Everyone calls it a false nine. I hate that, man. I can't
4-5-1. Kind of.
Yeah, there we go. I prefer calling it a 4-5-1. So that's what I would like to see more of. But unfortunately, all we're seeing is 65 minutes. Lacazette comes off. Eddie goes up top, and we don't score goals. So I'd like to see something different from Arteta. And I think that when you look at the mentality of these young players, I'm not so sure that Pepe fits into the future of Arsenal. But right now, because of our lack of transfer business in January, he can play a part. So it'll be interesting to see how he's used by Mikel in the next few weeks.
Yeah, well, look, I particularly want him to play a part because I think he's got a talent. I think his Arsenal career depends on these last few months of the season, to be honest with you, because at the end of the season, he's only got 2 years left, and we don't want to be getting into, our record signing, running his contract down. Listen, let me move on to you, Izzy, regarding Brentford now.
Yeah.
Brentford coming to the Emirates, first league game, Premier League game at the Emirates. What does Brentford have to do to get a result?
Defend well, be patient, be resolute. You're not going to like it as Arsenal fans, but they're going to have to slow the clock down. They're going to have to take their time when the ball goes out. They're going to have to do it. And set pieces are vital for them.
Because they're a big side, aren't they? Land of the Giants. Land of the Giants, yeah.
The three centre halves, long throws. If Tony there as well, they're going to have to stay in the game. And then what, as an Arsenal fan, you don't want to see, but as a Brentford fan, maybe Christian Eriksen on delivering dead ball situations for those big lads to arrive in the box.
Yeah. And your thoughts on Eriksen as well, because Lee mentioned him and I had him down there. I think it's a great story that Brentford have signed him, taken him on.
Yeah.
And do you think he could add that little extra bit of quality that maybe they've lacked in recent weeks?
First and foremost, he was a fantastic player. He was the mob down the road. He was their playmaker for years. Denmark missed him. And he will always add spark. He's the one that can find a forward run. He's the one, I know the mob down the road, he set up half of Dele Alli's goals. Ali's forward run, he's just great eye, great wand of a right foot. But he can do that after next week.
I like it, Isaac. I like it.
I love it.
He could do it after next week. Well, listen, maybe keep him on ice another week, so he gets a little bit more fitness and then he could come in after that. Well said, Isaac. For you, Lee, about this Arsenal side. Look, obviously no Martinelli. Who comes in for you? And is there any other changes in the team, do you think?
Well, listen, I'm going to say it now. I was up at Wolves and I'm going to say it. Like, Cedric had a bloody good game. I thought we played really well that game. Went under the radar a little bit, coming. But if Tommy's fit, Tommy plays. Simple as that. I think he's been fantastic for us this season. The one thing that Brentford have got is they've got that height advantage and everything like that. I couldn't believe how small Cedric was. You know what I mean? When you actually see him. Yeah, he ain't that big. So for me, I like the stature of Tommy. I think he's a proper defender. I don't care if he's not the greatest going forward because, do you know what? I want my right back to be able to defend first and foremost, and that's what he does. So for me, he comes back in. And my favourite, my third favourite, I love them all them three up front, like, you know what I mean? So Emil comes in. Right. My man Emil comes in, and I felt sorry for him against Wolves, because last 20 minutes, all right, yeah, come on. It got the little free roll in there in midfield, like, and then 1 minute later, he's down to 10 men. He's had to go back and do doggies for the next 20 minutes. But I tell you what, he chased it, but he done it. He done it. So that showed me he put in a shift for the team. So, and I also think, if you look at it, I know, like, maybe I'm looking at it differently, like, but he was the first player on. So I think the manager wants to get him on. We're talking about Pepe. He didn't even come on against Wolves, So I think at the end of it, I do feel that Mikel wants to get him in the team. So, and after having a word with Mikel at Wolverhampton, I said, get Emil back in that team. Get him back in.
So it's your doing anyway.
Well, there you go.
Nice one. What about you, Potsy? Any changes for you? Obviously, Martinelli can't play. So what would you do? Would Emil come in? Would Pepe get a start? And obviously, there's right back. Or would you change the system, like you mentioned before? And who would play in that 4-4-2 system if you were going to change it?
So in terms of the team news for team start, Tomiyasu comes back in. I'm not a fan of Cedric. I agree with Lee. I thought he was okay the other night, but I'm not a fan. So Tomiyasu comes in. On the left-hand side, I would play Smith Rowe, because I feel personally that his goal contribution this season, I want to see him back in this side. And at the moment, Ødegaard looks to be the number 10. And then if it's still struggling like we have done, let's say it's like a game against Burnley and we're struggling and it's 0-0. We can't break Brentford down. They're defending great, which I expect them to do, to be honest. But we still haven't got that goal. That's when, come 60 minutes or so, I'd give it half hour or 4-4-2. And I would be bringing Pepe on next to Lacazette, and I'll be hooking off Ødegaard and going for a 4-4-2. And I know Martin Ødegaard does spray the ball around nicely and keeps the ball well. But actually, when you're going 4-4-2, I'm not so sure you can push Ødegaard out wide. And I think you can with Smith Rowe. So I think for me, that's what I would be looking to do. And then see if we can break them down that way and try and have somebody playing off of Lacazette. And again, Kev, this might not work. This might not work at all. But it'll be something that I'd like to see happen. And I don't want to see the same like-for-like substitutions if a system is not working. Mikel's got to try and change something if it isn't working. Now, listen, I hope we're 3-0 up and we don't have to worry about it by the 60th minute. But I'm not confident that we will be because of the lack of goals up top. So if it is problems and Laka is lacking again, then we need to try and change something. And if we have to go to a 4-4-2, then let's hope that we can do that. My fear is that if he does go 4-4-2, it will be Eddie that comes up alongside Lacazette, because he seems to have this weird obsession at the moment with playing Eddie and Nketiah and bringing him on. It's like he's desperate for him to do well so that he can give him a new contract. It's really bizarre. So we'll see what happens.
Well, listen, I think that boat has sailed. Eddie won't be at Arsenal come the summer. Izzy, what's your thoughts on the Nketiah? Obviously, we've been there. We've come through the ranks.
Yeah,
he's a young lad who's come through the ranks. What's your thoughts?
Listen, it's hard coming through the ranks at Arsenal, let alone leading the line, trying to emulate and get goals. He does score goals, but where Arsenal want to be, can they afford him to be? Can he be the backup striker? I think he may be the third or fourth choice. It's good having him there. I like to see all the youngsters come through. Kev. But this is Arsenal Football Club, and
you've been in that position, Izzy. You've been in that position.
Yeah. So let him.
What's it like being in that position? What is it like being in that position where you know that the pressure's on you to score the goals, but you haven't got the time, if you like. Do you know what I mean? Like you've got like us fans.
Yeah, the pressure's on, and you don't have time to develop. Yeah,
you haven't got that time, have you? What is it like? What's it like when you go home or you go training? And
it's hard. It's hard because you've worked so hard to get to that situation, get in that position in contention to start or be in the squad. You just want to do well and hope you can take a chance, and then all of a sudden you get a different piece of confidence. At the moment, Eddie hasn't scored. He scored in the League Cup, okay, but he wants to score in the Premier League. As soon as maybe if he scored early in the Premier League, a few of those chances that he was snatching at, he would have taken.
Yes.
It's so hard when you're not starting games and you're expected to come on for 10, 15 minutes, not really warm, not really match sharp, to go and get up to the ceiling to take a chance just like that. Some players can do it, but some players need time. They might need a run of games and then to come out and then go back. They're still up to speed, but at the moment, Eddie's not up to speed.
Yeah, it is real difficult, Lee. It is really
Yeah,
difficult.
I appreciate that. I really do, because you're a young player trying to make it, and you're not getting the game time that you probably need to justify what you can do. And like as fans, we've all backed Eddie. We've really backed him, but ultimately you're saying like, right, and it must be horrible for him as well, like, because they hear it, like they must hear like, oh, he's not good enough for Arsenal. It must be, like the confidence to be at Arsenal. You've got to be a good player, haven't you? Somewhere along the line, you have got to have done so. You can't blag your way into the Arsenal.
No chance.
You know what I mean? I've blagged my way onto a building site in the past, but I cannot blag my way onto like that. You cannot do it. So he's got the talent, but it's that moment, isn't it? Like that moment come at Everton for me at Goodison Park with that header. If he bangs that in, I think we see a different Eddie. I really do. I'm not saying we're going to see someone banging in 20, 30 goals, but I think that moment there.
Confidence.
Yeah. If he'd have banged that in, we'd have won that game 2-1. He would have come off the hero. And that is the moment that you're praying for to have a tap-in, aren't you? Come on, you know what I mean? You're praying for a tap-in, like,
Yeah, but you have to take the chances, Lee. This is Izzy's a striker. I'm a striker. You live and die by those chances, 100%. Don't you, Izzy? You get those chances and you don't take them. There's always somebody behind you who's ready to take your spot.
Yeah,
and the other thing is,
at Arsenal now, who is there to take his spot?
Well, you got the babies. You got babies. You got babies coming up behind him. You've got people who want Martinelli to move from the left to come in. People who would even prefer Pepe in there, and you're a striker. Yeah. But if you don't take the chances,
the one thing I will say about him, Kev, it surely must be on his side, is that this manager is backing him as much as he possibly can. You know what I mean? I'm sure at times I've played under managers, and probably you guys have as well. And you think, I don't know if he really rates me or not. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, I don't think you can have that with
That's what's frustrating, though, Lee. That's what's frustrating. We've seen this guy so many times. Like, it's time now to just accept that this guy's not good enough, and the manager still seems to think that he is, because he's bringing him on. And people can say like they haven't got anybody else to bring on. Then try a different system, try something else, because you can't just keep saying I ain't got anything else. I'm gonna have to keep doing it, because you've decided not to bring somebody in January, so you have to make it work now. And Eddie is not working currently, so you've got to try and change the system up 100%.
Well, here's one for you guys. You mentioned 4-4-2. Why not 4-4-2 with Eddie and Laka?
Well, that's what I said. I think it will be that. I think if we do go 4-4-2, he's going to bring on Eddie next to Lacazette. He won't bring on Pepe next to him. Pepe's completely out of favour. We've mentioned it already, but I don't see Pepe doing much at all till the end of the season, because I think he's made his mind up on him. Eddie is the guy at the moment that he's going ahead with. So I think it's Eddie. You're right.
Do you know, Potsy? I'll ask Izzy this, and feel free to chip in, guys. I think how you train is important for Mikel Arteta. The attitude you show in training, the willingness. Managers will stick with you if you've got a great attitude. That's one thing I've learned. Well, what's your thoughts on that, Izzy?
Spot on. They have a away how he acts and how his attitude and how he behaves in and around the training ground, in and around the club, how he trains. Is he half-hearted or is he full on every day? That's why he likes Xhaka so much, because Xhaka gives everything apparently every day in training, so he plays him all the time.
And Lee, you've probably seen it in your teams.
Listen,
A player might not be as gifted as somebody else, but you know what? His attitude is spot on.
Yeah, I go along with that. Like and we've all been there where the coaches test you. They test you. They put tests out for you to see if you pass it. You know what I mean? Or you moan about it or groan about it. Like and I don't care whatever level you played at. Like manager has favourites. He has favourites. I don't care what anybody says. You know what I mean? Like Shaka's probably a favourite of his. It happens, and you just think, well, why is he playing him? And I'm going to be honest. If we all said what's our favourite players at Arsenal or whatever, like we might all be different because that's what we are. It's all about opinions. If when I was younger, I wish I'd have known that a little, what I know now, what I knew then, because one manager doesn't rate you, doesn't mean to say the next one's not going to. Do you know what I mean? Like, but you don't realise that when you're younger. So, listen, I think it happens all the time. I just think that I do believe it. If a player sulks when he's left there, what you want, and I'll tell you what, when you've been in the game a little while, if you've got someone that you leave out and he's sitting on the bench, he's sulking and all that, I don't really like. But if you've got someone you've left out and he's bubbly and everything like that, you think, well, I'll have a bit of him. I want him to do well. I want him to come in and do do you know what I mean? Like, so it's very, very difficult. You ain't going to get everybody in the same sort of mould. It ain't going to be like you. But ultimately, you do need. I think it's very important. I don't care what anybody says. The 11 that you've got is they're going to be happy. They're going to be happy because they're playing. It's those 6 or 7 that are not. You've got to have a different character, different mentality to those 11 that are playing. So
that's where the culture comes in, right?
Yeah, exactly. And it's difficult, you know what I mean? I find it very difficult when I'm left out of my vets team now. Like, I find it very difficult, you know what I mean?
You get left out, Lee. You get left out. It's outrageous.
I keep taking his place, don't I? Do you know what I mean?
The manager's a Tottenham fan, and I think there's a little bit of that in it. I really do.
A little bit of angst in it. Potsy, what's your thoughts on this edgy situation? Because look, I understand Eddie isn't the chosen one at number 9.
Mm-hmm.
But he keeps getting picked by Mikel Arteta. Like I say, I think it's his attitude. I think his attitude's right on the training pitch. He never sulks. You never see anything come out where he's throw toys out the pram or anything. And he does try. Fair enough, you don't rate him or whatever. But do you think that plays a massive part? And isn't it about time a lot of players with good attitudes got a chance? Unlike Lee Judges.
That's what it is with Judges. His attitude stinks, mate. They ain't taking him. Do you know what I mean? But listen, if Eddie's got a great attitude and he's killing it in training, then that's fine by me. But there's only so many games you can have a great attitude for if you ain't scoring. So what I mean by that is if he's coming on and doing all the right things up there, that's fine. But if you can't physically score a goal, which is what you're being brought on for, I guess, then you've got to look at something else. And we can't sit here on the podcast and say Pepe's got to do it when he comes on and not say in the same sentence, well, Eddie's coming on because he's got a good mentality. You've got to look at it both ways. And I think where Eddie, for me, has the advantage at the moment over Pepe is he's getting that chance and he's not taking it. So now it's time for Pepe to be given that chance to take it for me. Now, if that doesn't happen, I'm going to be questioning the manager and asking him why that's not the case. Because if you're still sticking with the same guy who's not scoring goals, then that is unfortunately on the manager because he is knowing that the guy's not good enough, but he's still playing him. So I don't want to be seeing in the next 5 or 6 games Eddie coming on, still not scoring goals, and people going, "Oh, it's not the manager's fault, it's Eddie." Well,
Potsy,
who's picking him?
Well, Potsy, do you think the manager might think to himself, well, I'm not playing Pepe as a striker because he's not a striker. I've got a striker there.
But what happens if the striker ain't scoring, Casey? What do you do then? Just keep playing him?
But my point of the matter is this. We know Martinelli can do that, but he would much prefer him being on the left. Pepe is not a striker. For me, he's not a striker. He needs to be wide, one-on-one. For me, Pepe. I think if you put him inside, I just don't think the I don't think the manager wants to take a chance with him as a number 9. That's me personally. That's why I think will be willing to put Eddie there, because Eddie's a recognized number 9. Eddie knows how to play the position. Eddie knows how to take the hits. Though he's not big, but he's played there all his life. Izzy, you've played there, not being the biggest, but you learn how to maneuver.
Yeah.
If you're a wide player, coming from the wing into the center is a whole different ball game. Yeah. And I'm not just defending Mikel Arteta. I'm just thinking I've got somebody capable of playing as a number 9. Why should I put Pepe in there when I've got somebody who can play as a number 9?
So what would go so wrong playing Pepe through the centre, and you think, Christ, that's a massive risk? Like Eddie needed to be in there.
No, Dan, it's not. I'm not questioning Pepe. It's fans who say they want Pepe as Pepe hasn't played number 9 for Arsenal ever. So what makes you think he would be better there?
So I don't know that he'd be better there, but I don't think he'd be any bloody worse. Let me tell you that. I've seen a lot from this kid, and I don't get it. I do not get this obsession.
But Dan, his talent is one thing. I agree with you on his talent. But a manager has to look at it sometimes practically. When you see they put the board up, they'll have players wide, they'll have the different players, they'll have all different players. So they'll have 1, 2, 3 at striker. Now Aubameyang's gone. There'll be 2 players at striker, and he'll know, right, if I need to, I'll move Martinelli from there to there. He won't. I don't think he would ever be thinking, I'll move Pepe from there to there. No chance. That's just me.
The other thing is,
you might be right. You might be right. Sorry, go on, Lee.
No, the other thing is, if you're a striker, like you two have been a striker, right? And I don't know. Just for instance, I'm going to just name a name, just like all of a sudden, like you know, I think I've got a chance of playing, and Ray Parler's playing up front. You ain't going to be happy, are you?
No chance.
So like Eddie's going to be the same. You know, Eddie thinks that he should be. He's the backup forward. He should be getting the chance in front of Pepe, and he's going to come out with the fact is that when he's had these chances, they've been sort of like coming on the sub and whatever, like, you know, blah 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 blah. And when he's had his chances in the League Cup, for instance, he has scored goals, hasn't he? Like, you know, I know it ain't been a great opposition.
Lee, our problem is, and Isaac, I'd love to have your take on this as well. Our problem at Arsenal is we do not have the killer strikers of yesteryear.
No.
Right? So we're desperate. We're desperate to find somebody who could stick the ball away. But one thing about football that I've learned, and Isaac, I'd love your feedback. If you try and get too smart, you come unstuck. You need the right people. There's a saying, the round pegs in round holes. Square pegs in square holes. So, Pepe is a wide player. He's not a striker. That's why he stays wide. Eddie's a number 9. The fact that he's not scoring and everything, I totally understand with you, Dan. I totally get that. Does he need to score? Yeah, he needs to score. Has he missed some chances? Yes, of course he's. That's a striker's lot. But if you're not playing your strikers in the right position, it's madness. Izzy, what do you say to that?
Yes,
Says it all.
then,
Yeah,
yeah,
that was enough.
But
That's
then-
enough, Izzy. That's enough.
I look at looking at Mane, Salah, Jesus plays out wide. He's supposed to be a centre forward. Foden plays through the middle. Mahrez plays on the left. Arteta's worked with Pep at Man City. Somehow, we've got to be able to fit whoever it is into a system where we're more of a threat going forward. Whether it is Eddie, whether it is someone else. At this precise moment, I think we, as Arsenal fans, couldn't care who it was, but we need someone to go and score goals.
100%. 100%. And do you know what? If it is Pepe as coming in, because I remember them playing Pepe, Saka, and Lacazette, etc. at top, and then I think it was against Sheffield United one time. They ripped them apart. Our problem is we don't control the ball enough sometimes. We don't have sometimes that domination of midfield that we should have. Because Liverpool do it, Manchester City do it. So you can afford to play midfielders there and you can afford to play Jesus on the wing because you control the ball all the time. When you control the ball, you are in so much of the ascendancy that the opposition are just like, oh no, not another attack, not another attack, not another attack. I just don't think we're at that level yet, but we need to get there. But guys, listen, I need to ask you your scores because I just looked at the clock. I weren't even looking at the clock. And it's an hour 11 gone.
It's gone
and,
so quick,
look,
man. So quick.
It goes too quick. And look, Izzy's come on. So, Izzy, let's get your prediction for Arsenal versus Brentford, my friend.
2-1 Arsenal.
2-1. Tight game. Tight game. What about you, Lee? What's your
I'm going 2-0, but I don't think it'd be like, I think it'd be 1-0 until later on.
For a while.
Yeah.
What about you, Potsy?
Yeah, I'm with Judges. I think 2-0. I'm going to be bold and get Lacazette and Smith Rowe on the score sheet. I think Lacazette's got to score at some point, man. It's got to happen. He's just got to score. I think Smith Rowe, and I think Smith Rowe coming back into the side is going to want to keep his place. So I think he'll get on the score sheet. I'm going to be positive and optimistic and go over 2-0 Arsenal win.
Well, I'm going to go not crazy, but I'm going 3-1. 3-1 Arsenal. I think I just think the confidence at Brentford is a bit low. And we're back at the Emirates after a really good result at Wolves. And we need goals. We need to hit the ground running. And I don't think Brentford are quite the same team. So I'm going to go 3-1. And I'm putting Lacazette to score one of the goals as well. Isaac, can't thank you enough for coming on, mate.
No, cheers. I've been brilliant.
And what I will say is, as well, guys. Obviously, rest in peace to Steve Burtonshaw.
Oh yeah, I was going to mention that today. Yeah,
who passed away. Izzy knows him. I know him, and he's one of them unsung people behind the scenes, like Terry Murphy and people like that. Pat Rice, who made a real difference to us coming through. Lee. Potsy. They really did. And Potsy caught some of the chat before in the green room. We were talking about how Pat Rice looked after us and stuff. And part of that group was Terry Murphy and Steve Burtonshaw. So rest in peace, Steve Burtonshaw. And
Well
thank
said.
you to all the people who come in and listened, and whether you do super chats or whether you just put your chat in. Thank you so much for listening to this show, Chatting with Campbell. And listen, you know the script. Up the Arsenal, and Isaac could say up Brentford if he likes, but he's a gooner, so get it right. Look after yourself, everybody, and see you next time. Take care.